All right, so I'm going to be sharing my screen, and if you guys did have a chance to look at the email I sent, it does have an outline of this. So, oops. Okay. All right, so today the title of this presentation is called Behavior Backbone, and it's a management plan. And I will be presenting, but I will be asking for your help and involvement as I move through this presentation. So today we're just going to be spending an interactive hour together, and I'm really excited to share everything with you. And I'm ready to share what I have gathered with you as well. We're going to embark on an interactive activity, engaging videos. We're going to watch them at the end. I've done some recent studies that are going to help us gather some new tools and knowledge to better implement a study behavior management plan and consistently use it in our classrooms now virtually. And it's going to involve using both love and logic. So today the schedule is as follows. Here's kind of the outline of what I plan to go through. So recently, about a couple weeks ago, I sent out a survey, and many of you guys filled it out, and I appreciate you taking the time to do that. So in the survey, a survey is, first of all, just a great way to gather information. It collects a wide range of information in unique ways, and it just is super helpful and resourceful. And it's really helpful in the realm of professional development growth for all educators. So I took the time to create a needs assessment survey. And oops, we have someone joining in right now. Let me let them in. All right. Hi, Angie. Hi, Val. So I took the time to kind of go through the survey, and like I figured, the results of the survey were really encouraging. You guys are amazing teachers. In the most recent survey, though, that was released, the one area that came back with the highest need was actually this question, classroom management, kind of focused on professional development for classroom management. So out of the results that I gathered, 9 of us were in need of support in this area. So using the data collected from the survey and the classroom behavior management professional development session has been created. And I created this professional development session based off of this need. All right, so kind of a little background. When one thinks about themselves, like we all think about ourselves quite often, we have a lot of time to do that right now, they can easily tend to use more of our hearts than our heads, or both equally. In a recent personality test, I learned that I am a person, if you know me, who tends to follow my heart more than my head. And the logic side is easily persuaded by what my heart feels. So as a teacher, this is what makes me pretty good at catering to students' needs and being really empathetic, and I'm sure you can relate. But nothing is wrong with using your heart. It's actually it's really important. The heart, or a feelings imagination approach, not an objective imagination approach, it leads individuals to experience greater empathetic concern, which makes them more receptive of multiple perspectives. So one difficult fact to consider about having this approach is that as a leader and a teacher, using logic is really hard. So using logic is important, and it comes into play more than we realize. Logic is the reasoning based on the sets of principles. So in classrooms, reasoning and principles relate to classroom norms, like the rules and the standards. So we need both love and logic in our classrooms, and this comes first by establishing a strong behavior backbone. I'm pausing for a moment to let Matt on in. Hi, Matt. Thanks for joining. All right, so teachers, all of us, if you take a look at this quote, begin each year with a plan. Some sort of plan is in place to manage all of our students' behaviors, but when push comes to shove, students get comfortable and we get really tired. And I'm super guilty of this. What drives us is not our plans, but our hearts and love for teaching. And but just like little kernels of popcorn, students begin to push themselves, and then they push the limits. And without a set behavior plan in place that is strong enough to hold up the behavior, like the body's backbone holds up the body, the classroom becomes out of control. And it comes out of control more than we would like. So the lines are no longer straight, and disrespect starts to happen. And then talking over others takes place, rules get broken, and the last thing that any teacher really wants to do is go back to the basics of management again. It's exhausting. I'm sure you can all relate. So using our hearts comes into major play as well as our logic here, and we need to define in detail exactly what we want our students to do and act like. So while many of us are thinking in the past, let's just turn to our present day situation of online learning. Many of you might have seen this quadrant before, but this is just a little thing I'm going to have you guys look at. As far as classroom management styles, there's 4 typically that we use. And if you had my handout, this slide I just recently added. So we're looking at a quadrant, something of low control to high control and low involvement to high involvement. So you can probably, once I start explaining these, put yourself in one of these boxes. So authoritarian is a style, and that is some type of management that's high control with low involvement. So just direct instruction and strict enforcement. Another type is authoritative. So that would be firm but fair. This is more like the love and logic side. So you're considering consequences, you're giving positive feedback. And if you're nodding right now, this probably is you. Something with low control or low involvement would be called permissive. And this is when you don't really care much, you don't know about your students, they don't know you, and they kind of just do whatever they want. I don't know, this is like you're not as prepared for your lessons. And then the last one is high involvement and low control, which would be indulgent. So the students are kind of taking charge, it's hard to control them. The teacher is very prepared, and the teacher deeply cares about them. So those 4 classroom management styles are kind of the basis of the outline of what we all typically or can kind of fall into. Now I'm gonna have you guys get involved, and thinking about these 4 styles, we can probably all describe our classroom management in a couple words. Is it flexible? Is it loving? Is it creative? So on your cell phone, if it's near you, or on this device, you can minimize the screen. You can go to www.menti.com and type in the code 236074. And just in 2 or 3 words, they're like one word, kind of an adjective, describe your current management plan. So I know that many of us obviously are using whole brain teaching and scoreboard, and you can add that, but get deeper. Is it loving? Is it forgiving? Is it flexible? Is it changing, ongoing changing? So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of project the Menti presentation screen, and we're gonna take a look at what our ideas are here, and the code will come back. I'll put it up again. So, and I could put it in the chat box, but if you guys can see this, oops, the code changed.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's 553359. And so on this, and it's anonymous, so you don't need to put your name, but just think of like a word that describes your current management plan. And the reason we're going to do this is just to kind of gather information, and it's a great way to begin this professional development session in a way that kind of levels the playing field, and gathering a list of real ideas that are being used in real time. Matt, were you able to get the code? It's 553359.
Got it. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Thanks. So yeah, firm, fair, consistent, loving, those are all great words. I love it. So if you're on Menti, you're just adding in words, and these are great descriptive words, how we all kind of view management as a whole. And as we move forward through this presentation, we're gonna keep these words in mind. And I'm gonna actually screenshot this one once it all comes up. So I'll give you guys about a minute or so here to kind of continue adding the words. Thank you. Awesome. So authoritative, adaptable.
Jessica, what was the code again?
553359.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So as this builds, this is a word cloud. As it builds, you can kind of see how other teachers feel about their behavior plan. And as we move through this presentation, we're gonna have an idea, a better idea of kind of what we all feel about management as a whole, as a school, and where our viewpoint comes in. So no matter what grade we're teaching, I like the word tailored. That's really good. Tailored, like you're tailoring it, you're differentiating how you help out students, a certain student versus another student. Awesome. I'll give you guys about 30 more seconds here. So I hope that you guys can kind of read these words and see what other people are saying, and that hopefully can help you restructure your idea of what yours should be, or be fulfilled with encouragement, knowing that yours is in line with how other people are doing it as well. Awesome. All right, so I just screenshotted that, and I'm gonna bring us back to our presentation. So thank you. So kind of moving on, the reason I had us do that is because showing students how you expect them to behave and how you do not expect them to behave is the first and foremost simple step, right? So having students practice, then teaching the consequences, and then doing it for real, and then lastly, continuing to define expectations in small chunks is really important. So these are not rules, technically, for the classroom. These are just steps to take, just like a parent would teach good bike riding skills on the street. These steps are the same. So the example here is how to deal with excessive talking, right? So it can be replaced with any topic, but first you would define the expectations in explicit detail. So that's when you take the time to model it. And then you're gonna have the students practice it. So you're going to give them feedback just like you would any skill. And then the step 3 would be to teach the consequences. So making sure that we're knowing exactly what these are, and then teach like regular content. And then you're gonna go and do it for real, step 4. And many of you probably have already done something similar to this, like logically sound, heartfelt behavior plan, but this is a really clear way to kind of step by step go through it. And I know that in our new learning world, the managing students is a little different. So these steps can be used to help with other behavior issues. I'm going to pause here for a moment before we go on, just to kind of check in. Do you guys have any questions thus far, or any comments you'd like to add?
Jessica?
Yeah.
Was I supposed to see the word cloud somewhere?
The word cloud, I was up presented.
I don't know why I didn't. Was I the only one who didn't see it?
No, that's probably because it's not sharing that screen. Can you see it now?
Yeah, now I can.
Yeah. So this was the end result of the word cloud. Thanks, Lisa. I shared the PowerPoint and I didn't click over to share my desktop screen. So this was the end result of that word cloud. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. I didn't realize that you guys couldn't see it. So I'll let you guys kind of take this in. So consistent, loving, and firm, those words were used more often than others, and they showed up bigger. Fair and flexible, adaptable were also some words that more than one person added. And then the smaller words around were words that 1 or 2 people did submit. So that's kind of an overarching view of how we all feel about the management. Awesome. Thanks, Lisa, for bringing that to my attention. All right, so moving on, I didn't see anyone else had any other comments or questions. I hope you're all agreeing with me, or if you want to stop me at any point, you can just put like a hand up or notification in the chat box. All right, so now kind of that we're in a different world, at this moment, I'm gonna actually have you guys go on again, and this code is gonna be different. So let me just pull it up, and I'm gonna pull up the live desktop so you guys can see the new code. So we're gonna go on to Menti again and kind of bring up this new world that we're in. Not, hopefully you can see this screen now. Lisa, can you see it? Yeah, you guys are all able to see this? Okay, so now that we're in Zoom, kind of all of us are using Zoom as our learning platform. I'm gonna have us do a little poll here. And the reason we're gonna do this is to kind of see how we feel about rules and behavior on our new teaching platform. So the code here is 371856. And if you didn't get that, it's on the screen. And if you still don't see it, I can put in the chat box. You can say that you need it. And it's on menti.com, your same site. And you're just gonna agree or disagree. Rules are something we use on Zoom. Controlling behavior is difficult on Zoom. Zoom waiting rooms and breakout rooms are something we use. So you can kind of see just like the average. So as we all go in to enter our feed, I know that there's some teachers here that haven't yet completely done their class lessons on Zoom quite yet. I know specialty teachers, you guys are planning on teaching or joining in next or in 2 weeks. So maybe you can't completely honestly answer these, but it looks like, so rules are something that the majority of us are using on Zoom. So maybe it's, I began using just the regular whole brain teaching and kind of altered it a little bit. And then along with my co-teacher, Jamie, we added like, there was a cool like netiquette thing that we started to incorporate. But it looks like the lesser half of us is controlling behavior on Zoom is difficult. And I think that's because it's new. And as we go through this presentation, hopefully I can offer some little simple steps that we can integrate. But the reason I asked the question Zoom waiting rooms and breakout rooms is because I'm going to address how we can also use these to help our management skills. So this is a great kind of way to gather feedback. So thanks for pulling in and taking that. All right, so I'm going to go back to our presentation now. And so we're going to try something. So now that we've kind of have an idea of how we all feel about Zoom, I know that if you guys were in on Matt's professional development session, he used breakout rooms, and I have breakout rooms for us to try today. And what we're gonna do is in a breakout room, I want you guys to choose a topic, like a classroom management topic or a behavior thing that is difficult for you on the Zoom platform, whether it's camera usage, kids excessive talking, maybe their time on or timeliness, or you can choose a topic that we're going to encounter in the real classroom, like lining up or stealing things out of desks or something like that nature. And you're going to pick somebody in your group to be the teacher and pick a person to kind of model how to be the student and go through the steps on, okay, how are we going to deal with, maybe it's camera usage. So define the expectations in explicit detail. So if you're the teacher, you're going to model like, okay, I want you to make sure you're holding the camera and blah, blah, blah. Step 2 is just to have the students practice it. So tell them, then give them a chance to do it and then give them feedback. And then step 3, then the teacher would just model what would be the consequences for that action. And then students would then model, the partner who's the student would then kind of do it for real. Now this is a little different. The first way I planned this presentation was in person. So we're gonna try this in breakout rooms, and I'll try to put you with people who you teach alongside. And you guys can kind of go over a Zoom classroom behavior topic that is of interest to you and kind of just go through some steps on how you're going to deal with it. and then we'll come back together and we'll share it. So if you've used breakout rooms, all that's going to happen is I'm going to ask you to join a room, and it will be probably, I'm going to do 2 to 3 people per room, and I'm going to put the specialty teachers together. I'm going to have, I'm going to put Jamie with Kathleen and Carrie as like a primary group. I'm going to put, oh, we'll do this. Breakout room, sorry. Give me a moment here. All right. Matt, you were able to put us in breakout rooms really fast that one time. I'm impressed. I'm trying to strategize the best way to put breakout rooms. Okay, so I have put you guys kind of in breakout rooms. Lisa, I've just paired you with Paul for now, and you guys can maybe talk about a school-wide behavior that can be addressed in a certain way, maybe at
Any chance you can put me in with middle school? Because I want to see what they
Yes.
are doing. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, Paul.
Yeah, no, I'll put you in middle school. Okay, Paul, do you have a specific room, like grade level, you'd want to hop in at or with?
Doesn't matter. You can put me wherever.
Okay,
I'm flexible.
okay. All right, so everybody has like a group of 3, and I'm gonna let you guys kind of go over a specific, if you have been using Zoom, a specific Zoom behavior challenge you've been kind of dealing with, and then how you feel like it could be best addressed, and try to integrate some of those ideas that we kind of already addressed. So this is really as much as you want to pull out of this, and as much as you want to make this useful to you, it's going to be up to you. I'll try to pop into each room and check on you, but you'll have about 4 minutes here. Just go ahead and click join. But before I have you guys join, do you have any questions what you're going to be doing in the breakout room? The rooms aren't open yet. Not yet. Okay, awesome. All right, you can go ahead and join.
Schedule with that. And so, hi.
Hey, I'm popping in because I know that you guys have kind of a special experience with Zoom so far. So do you have any like ideas on how you're gonna strategize or any questions?
I was just saying, because I'm student teaching in Tustin,
Awesome.
Unified as well as in Red Hill Lutheran. I've been teaching pretty much my full schedule there. And so I think that like the biggest classroom management thing has been the chat room for us, and like kids just like saying hi to each other and like having side conversations. And so it's just been a matter of like consistently reminding them like, hey, this is the classroom. Like you're basically shouting across the classroom.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't do that in class. And so
yeah. Same. I've had the same thing with first graders. Yeah.
I think the best like thing that I've found is like trying to equate, like I always show our classroom rules. We have like these set apart classroom rules for music there. And we kind of just show them like how those rules apply in the online room. So like taking the rules from a classroom and like equating them to be like, hey, this is like talking out in class. Being in an online classroom is like being in a real classroom.
Yeah, I've been doing middle school youth group, and the big thing I have is they all come in mute, and then they all unmute themselves constantly as I'm talking. It's just like a regular classroom at that point, you know. And so just trying to figure out how to manage that. And one of the ways I probably will end up trying to do that is use one of my small group leaders to be a co-host to keep an eye on them while I'm doing my presentation and stuff.
That's cool. That's a great idea. I love that.
It just requires, you know, having that connection. I know we're going to do that Sunday with with our Kid Zone stuff, I'm going to go in because Beth had 50 families.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And so trying to manage that big of a room is,
Yeah. I know the
You know,
more you have, the bigger it is. All right. Well, thanks. I'm going to close the breakout rooms here shortly. I'll just pop out and
Okay.
let you guys keep talking.
Happening right now.
Were they sending that to the whole group?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
If a kid has a private question, like in chat, that they don't feel like asking to the whole group, I think I'm interested in how Mark uses it, because sometimes instead of just unmuting themselves, kids will like private chat me, which is a lot harder
Yes.
to manage than like them unmuting themselves. So I don't know if Mark is, I don't know. I don't think Dave uses it, but I don't know how Mark is using it, because just having them unmute themselves is a lot more simple than like having to go down to the chat or like seeing who raised their hand and then being like, do you have a question, Bailey? So
Yeah.
have you had that issue?
Yeah. I mean, there's a handful of kids that don't like to unmute themselves, but it does cause you, or it does force you to pay attention, because at the bottom of the screen, you know, the little chat icon will light up or whatever it does. And so I do try to stay on that a little bit, but yeah, usually I'm like a minute behind. Like I'll say, Mary had a question about this, and or I'll notice that there was a question that was from maybe 2 or 3 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I prefer when they just unmute themselves and just say, hey, here's my thoughts, or here's my question.
Especially for math, like I'm on my iPad. So like I'm looking down here on my iPad. So like I'm not always looking directly at the screen to see if they have a question. So if they unmute themselves, like it's auditory. But yeah, so that would be my question, if Mark is using it differently, or if Dave's using it differently. But other than that, Jess, we were just saying, like, because they're in middle school, we haven't really had any problems. Like we kind of set expectations at the beginning, and like changing backgrounds and like floating through space has been like the only thing. But as soon as we say like, if you mess around, you're out, they change it.
I know, in a way, I feel like there's probably some advantages to teaching on Zoom and managing behavior. And then there's probably also obviously new avenues of things that we can encounter. So cool. I'm glad you guys are able to kind of chat and like strategize together, because this is a whole new world. But I was able to pop into some other rooms, and it seems like a lot of us are kind of talking about the same thing. So I'll be excited for all of us to come back together and kind of congregate. All right, I'll be closing our rooms in a minute.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
All right.
The first one's back.
Okay, the first one's back. I had time to pop into some other rooms, and I didn't have time to pop into yours, but we'll kind of go over really quickly. Kind of a lot of us were saying very similar things, so I'm sure that managing behavior on Zoom is kind of, generally speaking, similar for many of us. And I popped in a little bit with Matt and Lisa and Angie, and I know that they were kind of saying managing behavior on Zoom as far as like older kids is not as difficult, obviously, because they can talk to them and hopefully they follow steps. But does anyone want to share kind of what you guys came up with as a problem or classroom management problem with the group, and how you kind of strategize to take steps to help your students succeed, or how you plan to work with them? Does anyone care to share?
I have something.
Go ahead.
So in our group, the issue that I talked about was certain kids like turning off their screens. And at first I didn't think it was a big deal. I'm like, maybe there's a family moment going on, or maybe something's happening that I can't see. So I was sympathetic, but then it got to the point where I would call on somebody and they would turn on their screen and they didn't know what we were doing or where we were. And that's when I started requiring, like, your screens have to be on during the whole Zoom. And the camera needs to be pointing like somewhat towards your face, like not at the ceiling. Because I've had kids like playing video games, or because my kids are in their rooms by themselves. They're not really in a public space with their parents around, most of them. So that's something we talked about. And then Carrie mentioned, for me, just like very repeatedly every day, repeating the Zoom netiquette instead of just saying it once at the beginning and then not coming back to it. So that was helpful.
Cool. Does anyone else? Thanks for sharing, Elizabeth. Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing, because I didn't even think about that. Like, first graders are in the kitchen with their whole family around. Yeah. So, Carrie?
Well, just kind of to tag on what Elizabeth was saying, because I noticed, and we were having similar issues, just the different age group, is every day, just a brief, like half a minute, going over etiquette and reminding them of Zoom etiquette and how to be respectful and what we need to do and not do. And then also throughout the lesson, if it continues, to let them know, you know, if they close their screen or turn off the video, please turn on the video, keep the video on. But to remind them, and it's gotten significantly better.
Yeah.
Because I will say at the beginning of the week, it was, you know, doing it every day. You notice that it has to continue. You have to remind them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyone else? I mean, I feel like we're all in agreement there. Anyone else want to share or comment?
Actually, from the middle school side, I know that Angie and Matt and Lisa were talking about it, but one of the things that I brought up as a challenge is ensuring that all of the kids are actually focused on what we're doing at the time, especially if I'm working on something maybe like on the whiteboard or I'm addressing some slides. I don't have all the kids in the room with me, so I can't tell if this one's looking at me or if they're actually fiddling with something in their room or you know, playing with something on the wall. Especially in the Zoom world, that's hard to see.
Right. Like, how do you check if they're paying attention, like formatively or summatively assess? Like, just assessment, period, I think.
So Colette and Val were saying, you know, and I've done this in my class as well, you know, the random selection of students and just prompt, you know, so what do you think about this? Can you answer this question? But even with that, that's only a small subset.
Right. So I think there's like a world of kind of to do things after this presentation on like next steps. I'm gonna go ahead, and some part of this presentation is next steps, but I think that all of the things that you guys shared are really great kind of things that I'm sure many of us have been thinking about, but we haven't actually had time to, you know, transfer over and prepare for an online virtual learning world. So this is great for us to get to and just kind of share how we're feeling on those things. But I think all those things are definitely ways we can strategize together as a team and help our students and ultimately help each other. So thinking back to behavior, am I echoing?
No.
Okay. Our backbone is made strong with both the heart and the head. So thinking back to when we were in the classroom, there are several strategies, and I've taken the time to kind of gather 2 videos, and I'm going to do my best to play them. They're 3 minutes long, but the first one is called The Greeting at the Door, and some of you guys do this already, but this can transfer over into the Zoom world, and we can talk about how this can be done and why this is important after the video. But if you guys can't hear it, obviously we're not going to play it, and I'll just send it to you to watch after. So let me know if you guys can get the sound on this.
For learning is the social connection.
Can you hear it?
Activating a child's cognitive skills begins with activating their social connectedness.
Thanks.
Children in this school are starting the day with an adult saying to them, I see you, I know you, I'm connecting with you, and you're important to me.
We start each day by greeting every kid at the door. Good morning, Declan.
You look pretty this time.
Thank you, baby. Every classroom does some variation of, would you like a high five, handshake, or hug? Essentially, it's what greeting would you like? How you doing, handsome?
Good.
There is a great deal of cultural sensitivity and empowerment for children to say, here is how I want to greet you.
I have handshake or hug. You got your hair done? Good morning, Molly. You got your hair done? Let me turn around. I love it. All right, we're gonna have a good day today? All right. High five, handshake or hug. During that time, I'm just trying to connect with them, help them from the transition from home to school, and just kind of a pulse check to see where they are. Oh, I knew you wanted a hug. How are you feeling today, sir? Good. We have a good day? Look at my eyes. They look escalated, they look triggered, they look upset. So it's a way for me to see, okay, who needs to be where, how can I help, how can I be assistance, start their day off most effectively. Good morning, Ariella. How you doing today? I'm being very intentional about my interactions with students, right? So it's not just I'm in the back of the room, hey, come in. No, I'm making connection with them. I have eye contact with them. I'm checking in how they're doing. I'm checking to make sure they're okay. Good morning, friends. Good morning. I think the impact is deep relationships. I get to know my students. I get to check in with them. I get to find out something about them. They get to find out something about me. We get to make a connection. And that starts with the greeting at the door. All right, come on in.
So a child is walking in the door feeling cared for, empowered, and encouraged. And that teacher is focusing in on who that child is. And that's how the day starts.
All right, so kind of now using this as a springboard, first of all, how many of you guys felt like that video? I've now watched it a couple times, and it's kind of made me super sad because the reality is those hugs and handshakes and high fives are not really an option. And I know that all of us have different emotions about things right now. So, and I feel like we all are, we can all be there for each other. And so the reason I shared this video is because the foundation of behavior management starts with relationships. And she says that in the video quite a lot. And I think using platforms like Zoom and platforms like Flipgrid and Seesaw and Classroom, Google Classroom. And I think Angie recently shared her prayer Google Living Form. All of these things are actually part of that behavior backbone. And instead of kind of moving off and kind of addressing what you guys were all sharing about, you know, how to control behavior, it starts with the relationships. And I think more than ever, we need to focus on relationship building. And how do we do that on a digital platform? Because with loving relationships, we can then build a strong, logically sound classroom management plan. So one of my ideas was on that Zoom kind of mentee poll that we did using breakout rooms and using a waiting room is actually like a door. So a waiting room is a way for you to admit students one at a time and do a morning greeting or an afternoon greeting or a high five, handshake, hug, virtual like thing, whatever you decide. And that's just a fun thing that I've tried to start integrating, and it's silly and it felt kind of ridiculous at first, but I think the video brings up a great point. And even though we can't do it at our door, we can do it at the beginning of our Zoom lessons. And using something like Seesaw or Flipgrid or even Google Classroom are ways I know that I wasn't able to observe Matt quite yet, but he sent me an invitation, and right after chapel, he did a check-in. And it was really cool because I felt like if I was his student, I would feel like, wow, he cares about like our relationship and he's telling me what to look forward to. And so kudos to Matt for that. I'm really impressed. And you guys are probably all already doing something similar to this, but I thought coming together and learning how to build strong relationships with both our hearts and our heads can help us form that strong behavior backbone. So as I pause here on this slide, there's a few things I want to address and kind of make available to you. All of these are great resources. If you haven't used them already, I will share them all with you in a follow-up email on how to like begin using them as sources. And I sent you guys this PowerPoint additionally so you can access the names of those platforms. But how do you guys, do you have any questions as far as how to build strong relationships on a digital platform? Or do you have any ideas to share on how to do that in addition to the ones I shared? Awesome. All right. So that's okay. If you have any comments or things to share, we can share them at the end too.
I'll share a couple of things.
Yeah.
Jessica?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I do, I don't necessarily use a waiting room, but I do intentionally, and I know that Carrie does this because I hear it coming out of the bedroom, but I go around and very intentionally say good morning to every student. Anytime we have any kind of digital submission, I try to go through, and it's a pain. And I jokingly was telling Carrie, I feel like I'm spending way more time teaching now than I ever did, as I'm trying to be more intentional, and because a lot of what we miss is those interactions in the classroom. So trying to give personal feedback on either a Padlet submission or an education submission, just to let them know that, hey, although we're not seeing each other face to face, I see what you're doing. I appreciate the effort and I'm acknowledging it. So it's not just, it's out there and I did it for no reason.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Matt. I would agree with everything you said. And I think that, like you said, more than ever, making that relationship, showing them you're there and you care is the foundation. And as much as we want to say, you know, rules are important right now, that relationship is going to inspire them to not so much, you know, turn off the video. They're going to be engaged, or you're doing something on the whiteboard. Hopefully they'll be motivated internally to focus, because that relationship is like the base of the pyramid of learning. As of right now, we can try to use that to kind of catapult our learning in the best way. Yes, Carrie.
I think it's important also to state relationship is the most important thing right now in their life. I think because it was taken away from them. So it's crucial that they feel comfortable with us in this platform. So I think content is there, but relationship is what they need in order to want to learn the content.
Yeah, and I totally critical. And I think that we need to remember that our relationships as teachers with each other is also critical in helping us get through this time, because without, I mean, I know for sure that without our, you know, our weekly meetings in primary, that I would feel like I'm doing this by myself. And so we just went from doing a very lonely job to an even more lonely job. So I think that as we move forward and after Easter break, you know, trying to regularly meet, whether it's on the phone or trying to build relationships with our other people, this is going to help us succeed as teachers and staff at Red Hill. And kind of our unity will bring our class unity and our school unity, and it will kind of all the relationships will be the foundation of why things will, while they'll hold on. And that's what makes Red Hill so special. So the next slide is just kind of a next steps, not quite the next step slide, but this is a site that I have, many of you probably have heard of. It's called Love and Logic, and there's a book It's great. It's a great resource. And the site actually has a lot of awesome digital sources for us as well. So if you are interested in learning more about what Love and Logic is, you can actually go to this site, and there's articles and advice for educators, and there's lots of infographics, and you can, if you would like, log on to this site and you can create something to put on your Zoom or teach even your kids a little bit how you're going to incorporate using more love and keeping the behavior management plan sturdy, but also informing them that it's going to be based off of growing our relationships together. And so this site has a lot of awesome sources, and I'll share the link with you guys as well. In addition to the Love and Logic, another next step would be just to keep in mind that behavior backbone, right? So give yourself one goal, just one, and begin the behavior backbone steps for a specific behavior problem in your class that you are dealing with. So something that you guys talked about, and then reach out to a colleague. So maybe someone you're close to or your team teacher, ask them to check in with you, ask them to observe you, or just be there to listen to you. And then check in with yourself, maybe through like a reflective journal. I know that during this time we have a little extra time to read or journal, so that would be an awesome way. And then you can even print out a poster, or you can put up, not print it out, you can post a poster in your Google Classroom and then share it with your students. So there's lots of ideas from the Love and Logic site. So lastly would just be to practice, and share, and don't forget to just connect with everybody, because relationships is the key. And just the next slide are just 2 ideas. So I actually have to give credit to the left poster, the Zoom class rules. I gathered this from Jamie Hernandez. She shared it with me on like an idea on what to do for Zoom when I was trying to figure out how to manage their behavior. And so this is just an example of kind of a logical using your head, what you would like them to do, the expectations. And the fourth thing on there, avoid distractions, kind of probably would go with more middle school, being distracted with other possible things they could be doing on their computer instead of watching you use the whiteboard. And then the poster on the right is something you can go over with them, and you're just telling them that you're going to treat them like a real person, you're going to respect them. And instead of, obviously the last one says whisper, maybe they can do you can teach them how to use the chat box privately, and the importance of it, and what that looks like, and maybe model it. So these are just ideas on things you can do to kind of work on managing your students a little bit better. I know I'm going to try to do that with mine as best as I can. So I'm going to go on to the last slide. We're done. You guys can get up, stretch, do a little dance. I wish I could give you some coffee and candy. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate you being here. But I'm going to send you guys a survey, and I know I already sent you a survey and already made you sit here for an hour, but if you could just take a quick survey just to kind of give me feedback. I'm trying to grow and learn about myself. And before I say goodbye, does anyone have anything to add? Any comments on just behavior management as a whole, or you're just excited about Easter in your house, or maybe you're just not excited about anything, or any comments, any questions, anything? I'm now kind of an open door. So
Jessica, it's Jeanette. Yeah. Just wanted to say, one of the things that I tried to keep it as close to what we did at school. Every day before they walked into my classroom, they had to smile. That was their ticket into my classroom. And I held them to that. So I did the same thing for Zoom, and I said, okay, in order to be part of this Zoom class, your ticket in here is to smile. And I would go to each person and call them by name, and they had to smile to make sure, you know, that they were here and that they felt welcomed and that they were ready to participate. Going over etiquette and just kind of reviewing some of the rules before it begins has been really helpful. And the relationship that we're having online certainly is different, but trying to make it work with feedback and working with my partner teachers and everything has been pretty good.
Yeah, I love the enter with a smile thing, how you carry that over into your Zoom platform. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. That's really great.
I have one. Something that I've done, because I do Zoom every day with my middle schoolers, like for varying classes, is like if I leave it open, like if anyone wants to just like hang out or chat for like 5 minutes after class is over, like we can just hang out. And I usually have a couple kids that want to just like tell me about their dog or tell me about like what they're doing. And so that's been cool from like a coaching standpoint, because like I have 40 kids in a Zoom every time, and so it's hard for me to like greet every single student as they come in, but it's just a nice little opportunity for those kids that like usually like linger after class or like get there early because they want to like tell you about what they ate for lunch. Just like giving them an opportunity to still connect when you can't do it in person.
Yeah. Like right now, like how we're all connected, not in person.
I had something. So once a week, we're trying to do something to look forward to on Friday, kind of like a show and tell. So like the first thing was like, everybody show me your pets. And like, that was a really fun one. And then we had a baby picture thing, which was really fun. And we've had dance parties, and we've had show me your favorite like game or puzzle around your house, or your favorite comfort item around the house, or your favorite place in your house, or just something like that, either like once a week or even twice a week. It really motivates them, and they ask about, they're like, are we ready to do show and tell? And they're like wanting to be on task because they know that's coming, even though at 5th grade they might say, well, show and tell is lame. Like for some reason at their house it's like not lame anymore and they want to do it.
Mm-hmm. That's fun. I would love to do show and tell even now.
Yeah.
I had my kids come to a Zoom where they had to dress up as their favorite superhero costume. It was so cute, you know, talking about superheroes in the world today, and how their parents are superheroes for helping to teach them. We're superheroes for teaching them like this, and that they're superheroes for acclimating to this huge change for them. And that helped me segue into the best superhero there was, and that was Jesus, and then led into Holy Week and Jesus's resurrection and how he rose from the dead. It was fun. They were so cute. I had 3 ninjas.
That's really cool. Thanks for sharing. I think that we all have very creative ideas, and to be honest, when I was challenged with this assignment for my course, I was a little nervous because you guys are all pretty awesome, and I didn't really know you should have seen the survey results. Like everything was very strong. You guys are amazing teachers, and I couldn't really find anything to specifically help our school. More so, I feel like we just all help each other and push each other kind of more so than ever. And I just want to just thank you, because as a master's student, I feel uber prepared for my classes, and you guys have kind of helped me do exceptionally well. Specifically being here and taking time out of I know that you can't go out and go anywhere right now, but I know that this is extra time, and being on Zoom is extra. So thanks for going the extra hour with me today. I really appreciate it.
You know, Jessica, it's kind of interesting. I'll just jump in real quick. You know, I know you fit this in because you had to do it for your class, but it's kind of funny sometimes how things work. It actually is really good timing, because everybody's been doing this new online thing for a couple weeks, and all of the way you addressed it in the topics were actually very timely, because in the classroom, probably people are much more comfortable, but in this new online environment using Zoom, this type of conversation and talking about what is proper etiquette and how you do it, it's perfect. It's very good timing. So it's all worked out really well. We couldn't have probably planned it any better.
Yay! I'm glad. Cool. Well, I'm glad that it was resourceful, and I will be sharing all of the links with you, and hopefully if you need anything, you can always reach out and just remember that you guys are doing awesome, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be here. And I will be sending you guys that link for feedback. If you could just quickly fill it out for me, that'd be great.